Import and submit eForm 119 data. This presentation is intended to provide an overview of how to import and submit your eForm 119 financial data. Through this presentation, you will learn about the key elements of the annual member cycle and their impact on the annual reporting process, how to successfully build your import files and import your data into eAccess, and how to submit your eForm 119 data to OMERS. Before you begin your eForm 119 reporting, there are a number of administrative tasks that must be performed to ensure smooth sailing. Administration of the OMERS plan is a joint responsibility between you as the employer and OMERS to ensure that we are compliant with the Pension Benefit Act, also known as the PBA. It is legislated that every member must receive their updated pension report by June 30th of each calendar year. This provides extremely important information about a member's pension. We must work together to ensure that we meet this requirement. Through the eForm 119 reporting process, you are painting a picture of what happened during a calendar year for each of your members. The eForm 119 process is an annual reconciliation to ensure that each member's record is up to date. We have to ensure that we have an accurate representation of the benefits being earned by each member each year, as this is what is used to produce pension reports. To help you get ready for this annual process, there is an eForm 119 checklist that is available online at omers.com under the Employer section. This checklist guides you and acts as a reminder of the key administrative tasks which impact your eForm 119 reporting. Your first step is to ensure that your eAccess account is ready to use. You want to ensure you have a valid eAccess username and password. If you do not yet have an account, you will need to access the registration form available on the eAccess homepage. Therefore, in order to obtain this form, someone with an existing eAccess account will have to print off the form for you. Alternatively, you may call OMERS Client Services and request that the form be emailed to you directly. Before sending this form to OMERS, it will have to be signed by your senior management official. If you have forgotten your password, you may use the Forgotten Password link on the eAccess sign-in page. You will then be asked 3 security questions. If answered correctly, a new temporary password will be emailed to you directly. It is very important that each administrator have their own unique username and password. Account sharing is not permitted. When logging into your account, any forms processed will be associated to your user ID. Therefore, for auditing purposes, it is imperative that we are able to determine who has processed each transaction. A great tool for you to utilize during the eForm 119 reporting season is data extracts. These data extracts allow you to download membership information directly from eAccess. You will find this useful in many ways, including cross-referencing OMERS data against your payroll and HR records. It is especially useful when preparing your members' T4s, income tax slips. Types of data extracts include membership data extract, leave period extract, contribution reported detail, and elimination period extract. When you first extract the data will be provided in a text file which must be converted in Microsoft Excel. There is a data extract tip sheet that is available on omers.com. This tip sheet provides you step-by-step instructions on how to convert the scrambled text file into legible data that can easily be manipulated using the Excel application. Let's look in detail at each of the previously mentioned types of extracts that OMERS provides. Membership data extract. This provides information such as all reported 119 data, normal retirement age, employment status, and very importantly, pension adjustments for all 119s reported prior to February 28th. Leave period extract. This extract provides details on all leaves you have reported to OMERS. Elimination period extract. This extract is specific to elimination periods and provides a summary of all elimination periods you have reported to OMERS. And lastly, contribution reported detail. This provides a summary of contributions reported after the eForm 119 has been completed. Two reports that can also provide valuable information are the Contributions tab in eAccess and the EMC 104, also known as the Annual Statement of Payment Remittances. It is very important to understand the information provided on each report. The Contributions tab in eAccess, available through your eForm 119 dashboard, will show the contributions by contribution month, meaning what month the contributions apply to in the previous calendar year. Whereas the EMC 104 will summarize remittances made January to December of the previous year. This report summarizes when the funds were remitted to OMERS and provides a breakdown of what the remittance includes. For example, it will show you normal contributions remitted, as well as the contributions remitted for service purchases. These are examples of both the Contributions tab in eAccess and the EMC 104. Always remember that the months will not match because the EMC 104 will show when the contributions were remitted to OMERS, while the Contributions tab shows what months the contributions apply to. You will also notice that the Contributions tab is not displayed in chronological order. The EMC 104, however, will show remittances from earliest to latest. Having balanced contributions will significantly simplify your reconciliation process. It will ensure no delays during your final reconciliation steps. It is recommended that you compare reports against payroll records to ensure contributions are balanced before beginning your eForm 119 reporting. Step 1. Import the data into eAccess. The first step of the 119 process is to import the data from your system into eAccess. Step 1 of the eForm 119 process can be broken down into two substeps. Firstly, you must build the import file, which include the eForm 119 data. Once the file has successfully been built, you will then proceed to import the data into eAccess. There are three options available to import your file into eAccess. The first is an ASCII file. This requires the data to be extracted directly from your payroll system. It is your IT department that will be responsible for setting up the extraction of this data using the file specifications, which can be found in the eAccess Help section. There is also the option for you to complete individual requests, just like any other administration form that is available in eAccess. We will be focusing using the Import File Builder. The Import File Builder is an Excel spreadsheet which allows you to build your eForm 119 file, including all financial information for all your members. Import File Builder. To access the Import File Builder, you must log into eAccess. From the landing page, under the Batch Processes tab, select Import File Builder from the drop-down. Before starting, you must enable the macros. This is very important as it will allow the spreadsheet to perform all required functions necessary to build your file. For versions of Office 2007 or later, enable the macros by choosing the Options link and then selecting Enable this content. It is possible that this option may not be available. In this case, you will want to check with your IT area, as there may be restrictions that they have applied to your network which disable this functionality. As this tool is multi-purpose, always ensure you are on the correct tab before starting to input your data. Start off by populating and building your Form 119 data file first. The Import File Builder is an Excel file with built-in macros. In addition to leave periods, an employer can report Form 119 and retro earnings. Always ensure you are on the correct tab on the bottom of the sheet. This is where you input the data into the spreadsheet, and this is the file that you use to import into eAccess. When saving the Excel spreadsheet, remember the location on your computer, as you will need to access it later. This slide shows you all of the data that you could potentially enter and what your file would look like if you populated every field on the spreadsheet. As you can see, this can be quite overwhelming. All this data is not required and can actually cause issues when you try to build your import file. It is important to note that only mandatory fields are required when building your import file. The column heading of the mandatory fields are bolded and include social insurance number, credited service, contributory earnings, pension contributions, and the pension adjustment if reporting after February 28th. Once you have entered all your data, it is a good idea to randomly check cells to ensure data integrity, as it is possible that you may make transposing errors when copying information from your payroll systems into the import file builder. Also equally important is the format of the information that is being entered in the spreadsheet. Each column has specific formatting guidelines. To confirm the acceptable data format, hover your cursor over the red triangles for further details. This file includes only the columns that are mandatory. By completing only the mandatory fields, it saves on time in both creating the file and solving problems that may arise when you try to build. Notice that this file does not include PAs. For eForm 119 transactions processed prior to the end of February, our system will calculate PAs for you, and you will be able to extract your PAs using the membership data extract. Let's try building a file together. Before you start, ensure that you have a secure file or folder with a location that you can easily save your files to. Remember, sensitive information such as SIN and financial data is being stored here. Once you have completed entering the data and have done your random cell integrity check, you will now be ready to build the file. To do so, click the Build Import File button at the top of the spreadsheet. If you followed the required format for each column, a save box will then appear. Save this file to the folder you created, as you will need to select it when you import the data into eAccess. Remember that at this stage, you are simply building a file and saving it to your computer. This is not being saved in eAccess. Once the eForm 119 file has successfully been built and saved, you can proceed to build your retro file, if applicable. When building your files, it is possible that you may encounter errors. A dialog box will appear notifying you that there is something wrong with your file. Once you have read and understood the error, click OK and make the necessary corrections or updates. Your file may not successfully build for the following reasons. You may have exceeded the maximum amount of characters permitted in a cell, used the wrong type of characters, for example numbers instead of letters, and/or inserted hyphens or spaces. With large files, it may be difficult to identify which cells are causing these errors. If you are experiencing difficulty building a large file, attempt to build several smaller files. This will help isolate the error. For example, if you are attempting to build a file with 100 entries, simply cut the import file in half and try building two separate files, 50 entries each, to identify which half has the error. You can then break down the remaining half into half again and try building again. Continue to do this until you are able to locate the error. Importing into eAccess. The following are the steps required to import your file into eAccess. First, select the import file. Here you will specify the import file type, specify the reconciliation year, and attach the file. Next, you import the file into eAccess. You can then review the status and review any import errors if required. Let's try this together. From the landing page, under the Batch Processes tab, select Import a File. Next, select the file type and reconciliation year. Click Browse, and when the Choose File to Upload window appears, locate the Form 119 text file you created and saved in your eForm 119 folder. Once you have found the file, click Open. Once all three fields are populated, click the Import File button on the bottom right-hand corner. This will start the import process. Once you have started the process, you will then be able to view the status of your import by clicking the View Status link as shown on this slide. The processing bar shows how your import is progressing. Depending on the size of the file being imported, it could take a few minutes to a few hours, or even overnight if your group size is very large. There are three possible outcomes of an import. They are as follows. Completed no errors. This is the best case scenario and means that no errors have occurred. Every entry was successfully imported and an eForm 119 request was generated for each. You may proceed with the next import file if applicable. Completed with errors. This is the most common scenario. And it is extremely important that in this scenario you review the errors log and acknowledge the errors before proceeding with the next import file. You can also review the error log, fix and rename the file, and then re-import the file, or delete the batch, fix the file, and re-import. It is not recommended to delete a batch because you must wait 48 hours before you can attempt to re-import if you do so. The deletion does not occur right away. Also, it is important to note that when you re-import a file, it will override any previously imported data. Lastly, the third outcome is failed. This means that more than 50% of entries contain errors. In this case, you must review the error log, fix the errors, rename your file, and then re-import the data into eAccess. During the import stage, the data in the import file is scanned by eAccess to ensure you provided all required information. Import errors will occur if there were blank mandatory cells in your import file, such as SIN, credited service, contributory earnings, etc. You entered an invalid SIN, or you included data for members with multiple memberships. If errors generated during the import, it is extremely important for you to review errors and acknowledge them. By clicking the Review Errors link, you'll be able to view a list of all the errors that have occurred during the import. Once you have reviewed the information, you must click Review Completed at the bottom of the screen to acknowledge them. Once you do this, the eForm 119 transactions that generated will be released into eAccess. You can then proceed with submitting them. It will also allow you to proceed with your next import and initiating individual requests. Always ensure that the system indicates that you have reviewed errors prior to proceeding with your next import. The checkmark R noted on this slide is the indicator that you have successfully reviewed the errors. If you do not see the checkmark R icon, you will not be able to proceed. Once your eForm 119 data has been imported, you may proceed with importing your retro file if applicable. Always remember, if you have both an eForm 119 and retro data to import, the eForm 119 file must always be imported first, followed by the retro file. The retro data will attach to the eForm 119 request. Once you have imported all your data, refresh your dashboard so that it captures the imported requests. There are a few special cases to keep in mind when building your import file that may cause issues when importing data into eAccess. If you have members with more than one membership, you cannot import their data using the import file builder. If you try importing the data, an error will generate for those entries. Instead, you will need to create individual eForm 119 requests. Also, for members who have experienced an employment status change, continuous full-time to other than continuous full-time or vice versa, or an NRA change, NRA 60 to 65 or vice versa, you will need to split their eForm 119 data by reporting one line of data for each employment period in the import file builder. This also applies for members who have had an affiliation change mid-year. You will need to populate the effective date for the new employment period. This will create your eForm 119 request and split the data within the request. For any members who have terminated, retired, or are on an approved disability waiver, an eForm 119 request is not required. The eForm 143 you submitted for these events captured the financial information. You can therefore delete the entries from the import file to avoid handling any exceptions that may fire when you try to submit them. Lastly, for those who enrolled after January 1st of the reconciliation year, you will need to input their enrollment date as the effective from date. This will ensure that the system is only looking for service and earnings information from that point onward and will avoid exceptions generating when you try to submit these requests. Step 2 of the reconciliation process is to submit the data you have imported to OMERS. There are two different options you can use to submit your data to OMERS. Batch Submit allows you to submit multiple eForm 119 requests at the same time. This is the preferred method for larger employers with many members. The other option is to submit each eForm 119 request one by one. During the submit process, eAccess compares eForm 119 data against individual members' records to identify any discrepancies. A check is performed to ensure the full year is accounted. The data is also compared to prior years. If there are any discrepancies, an exception will fire. If there are no discrepancies, the request will process end to end. To submit a batch of requests, under the Batch Processes tab, select Submit a Batch of Requests. The default is to submit all requests. However, you have the ability to specify which requests you would like to submit by selecting Search for Requests to Submit. Click the Submit button once you are ready to start the submission. Read the Submit Agreement window that appears and click I agree when you are ready to proceed. Just like importing your data to eAccess, you will have the ability to view the status of your batch submission. Under the Batch Submit tab, the processing bar will show you the progress of your submission. Once the submission has been completed, refresh your dashboard to view the most up-to-date information on the Totals tab. The goal of eForm 119 reporting is for all your requests to be under the Completed section. Under the Memberships Submitted to OMERS section, Completed includes all eForm 119 requests that have been processed, as well as any eForm 143s submitted for 2017 retirement, termination, or pre-retirement death. Pending includes any transactions you have submitted and OMERS is currently reviewing. Under Requests Not Submitted to OMERS section, you are provided with a summary of requests that are initiated in eAccess, but have not been submitted or have exceptions that need to be resolved. In order to submit these requests, you will need to review them, make any adjustments to the data to eliminate errors, or provide an explanation to override the warnings. You are also provided with a summary of any requests that are not initiated and are required. Requests may not have initiated for a number of reasons. You may not have included the member on the import file, or an error occurred during the import for certain member entries. In this case, you will need to initiate an individual eForm 119 request or build a new import file including all missed members. You may have missed reporting a retirement, termination, or disability event. In this case, submit an eForm 143 to report the event. An eForm 119 is not required. Lastly, you may have enrolled a member in error. In this case, send an e-correspondence or contact client services for further instruction. Let's walk through how you would create and submit an individual eForm 119 request. To initiate, simply select Requests, create a new request, eForm 119. The eForm 119 requests consist of two tabs. The first tab is the Employee tab. Here you select the reconciliation year and you will have the option to enter the employee number and department ID. Please note that only the reconciliation year is mandatory on this tab. Once you have completed the Employee tab, you will need to click the Save button in the bottom right-hand corner. Once saved, you may proceed to the Financial tab. Under the Financial tab, you'll be required to enter the financial information. Any field with the orange asterisk is a mandatory field. You will not be able to successfully submit unless all those fields are completed. Enter the member's contributory earnings, credited service, RPP contributions, and RCA contributions if applicable. Remember, the PA is only a mandatory field after February 28th. Prior to this date, our system will calculate the PA for you. Click Submit once you have entered all required data. The Submit Agreement window will appear. You will need to confirm proceeding with the submission by clicking on I agree. You will know that the form has been successfully submitted when this confirmation screen appears. Remember that this does not mean it has been completed, as further review may be required by OMERS. During this presentation you have learned about the key elements of the annual member cycle and their impact on the annual reporting process, how to successfully build your import files and import your data into eAccess, and how to submit your eForm 119 data to OMERS. The Online Employer Administration Manual is somewhat of an encyclopedia of OMERS administration policies and procedures. Anytime you have an administrative question related to OMERS, we recommend that you check the Employer Administration Manual, as you will likely find the answer. Section 8 specifically covers the 119 reporting process. However, the EAM is a great resource for all your OMERS administration. Employer webinars are offered throughout the year to help you with processing your eForms and explaining the theory behind the OMERS administration process. 119 specific webinars will be held throughout November, December, January, and February. E-learning modules provide interactive learning any time of day and provide you with activities and quizzes to help test your knowledge. E-tutoring is available if you are having trouble with processing any tricky eForm requests, along with helping you process your 119s and resolving any exceptions and errors you might be receiving. We're here to help. If you have any questions throughout your eForm 119 reporting, please don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you.